Amelia Parker knew exactly what she was doing when she put on her waitress uniform that night. She watched intently as a group of influencers entered the restaurant with an air of superiority. They treated her with disdain, never imagining who she truly was. But what they didn't know was that they were about to uncover a truth that would change everything. You can't miss the unfolding of this surprising story, where disrespect is met with dignity. La Belle Maison was bustling with life that night, like a machine in full operation. The sounds of lively conversations, the clinking of silverware, and the soft hum of classical music in the background set the tone for the most sophisticated restaurant in the city. For the customers, everything seemed perfect, but behind the scenes, the staff was rushing to ensure that every detail remained impeccable. Amelia Parker, the owner and executive chef, was moving through the dining room as part of the waitstaff. Her uniform was simple, matching that of the other employees, and her hair was tied back in a discreet bun. Anyone observing from the outside would never guess that the woman balancing trays with grace and efficiency was the mastermind behind all that success. Amelia had worked hard to reach this point. Coming from a humble background, she was always taught not to let prejudice or social obstacles prevent her from achieving her goals. When she was younger, she dreamed of opening her own restaurant, but she knew it would be a long journey filled with sacrifices. Now, as she looked at La Belle Maison, she knew that every sacrifice had been worth it. But that night, a familiar chill ran down her spine, a feeling that something was about to happen. As she moved through the dining room, she saw the restaurant doors swing open, and a group of women entered with an air of superiority, as if the place belonged to them. They spoke loudly, gestured exaggeratedly, and immediately drew the attention of the other patrons. At the center of the group was Vanessa Hamilton, a social media influencer with thousands of followers, known for flaunting her luxurious lifestyle online. Vanessa was the type of person who turned every dinner, every trip, and every event into a spectacle, always with a camera in hand, always searching for something exclusive to show her fans. She was beautiful, with meticulously styled blonde hair, and her outfit was a display of expensive brands. Amelia recognized Vanessa immediately. The memory came like a wave, transporting her back years ago when she was still working in other restaurants, far from owning something of her own. Vanessa was the kind of customer who always treated staff as if they were invisible, and from what Amelia could see, that hadn't changed. The group was led to the best table in the restaurant, a reserved section offering a stunning view of the illuminated garden outside. Vanessa and her friends settled in, laughing and speaking loudly, their high-pitched voices breaking the elegant tranquility of the dining room. Amelia watched from a distance, her sharp eyes catching every detail. "This is going to be interesting," she muttered to herself as she grabbed her notepad and approached the table. The women barely noticed her presence when she arrived. They were so engrossed in their own conversations that they didn't bother to acknowledge the person who was about to serve them. Amelia stood there for a few seconds, waiting politely for them to notice her, but when the silence didn't come, she decided to intervene. "Good evening, ladies. May I start with the drinks?" The question was asked with a polite but firm smile, enough to get their attention. Vanessa finally looked up, appearing surprised to see Amelia standing there. There was a brief flash of confusion in her eyes, but she quickly masked it with a calculated smile. "Oh, sure," she said in a casual tone. "Pick something nice, waitress. Something special. My followers love to see something exclusive." She glanced at her friends, who laughed, clearly enjoying the situation. To them, Amelia was nobody. Just another person serving their meal. Amelia maintained her smile, but inside, she felt the familiar wave of frustration and irritation. This was something she knew well, the feeling of being judged by appearance, of being underestimated. She had faced it many times throughout her life. But now, the circumstances were different. They didn't know who she was. And that would be her advantage. As Amelia began listing some wine and cocktail options, one of Vanessa's friends, a woman named Grace, leaned forward, looking at Amelia as if she were observing something exotic. "You've been here a long time, haven't you? I wonder how someone like you manages to work in such a fancy place." Grace's words were spoken in a tone that mixed curiosity with disdain. The other friends began to laugh. "I bet she feels important serving us," Grace continued, clearly amused by her own comment. Amelia felt a pang in her chest. It wasn't the first time someone had treated her that way, not even the first time that week. But there was something about this group that particularly bothered her. Maybe it was the fact that she recognized Vanessa, or maybe it was because their behavior reminded her of how people had treated her in the past before her success. Even so, she remained calm, simply nodding politely as she finished taking the orders. "I'll be back shortly with your drinks, ladies," she said, turning on her heel and heading to the kitchen. As she entered the back, the sound of the swinging doors muffled the noise of the dining room. Sophie, the young waitress who had worked with her for a few years, approached, noticing the slight frown on Amelia's face. "Do you want to switch tables?" Sophie asked in a concerned tone. "I can handle them if you prefer." Amelia shook her head, her expression resolute. "No, it's fine. I know exactly what to do." She smiled at Sophie, but inside, a plan was beginning to form. Vanessa was an influencer. That meant sooner or later, she would start recording for her followers. And that would give Amelia a unique opportunity. She remembered all the times she had been treated as invisible, all the times she had been underestimated because of her appearance. Now, all Vanessa and her friends saw was a simple waitress. But soon, they would discover who Amelia really was. Amelia picked up the drinks and returned to the table, her face calm, but inside, she was already preparing for what would come next. Vanessa had no idea what was about to happen. Amelia returned to the table with a carefully balanced tray, carrying the drinks she had prepared for Vanessa and her friends. Each glass sparkled in the soft light of the restaurant, reflecting the elegant atmosphere of La Belle Maison. The air was still filled with the sound of the women's laughter and loud conversations. As she arrived, Amelia noticed that Vanessa had already begun fiddling with her phone, apparently preparing to start a live stream. Her instincts were right, Vanessa wouldn't miss the chance to show off her luxurious evening to her followers. Amelia served the drinks with her usual precision, handing a glass to each of the women. None of them made eye contact. It was as if Amelia was just a part of the background, something invisible. Vanessa continued to be distracted by her phone, typing quickly while her friends murmured among themselves about their latest purchases and extravagant trips. "These stores in town no longer understand what quality is," commented Charlotte, one of Vanessa's friends. "I had to have 3 designer bags repaired just this month. It's outrageous. That's why I only buy directly from Paris," Grace replied, raising her glass arrogantly. "Nothing beats knowing you're paying for the best." Amelia remained quiet, listening to the fragments of conversation as she served the last of the drinks. She had heard this kind of talk so many times before, empty words spoken by people who had no concept of the true value of hard work, perseverance, or the struggles faced to build something with your own hands. But at that moment, she wouldn't let those words affect her. Vanessa, now with her phone pointed at the table, finally started her live stream. "Good evening, my loves," she exclaimed, her voice lively and filling the space. "Tonight, I'm at the most exclusive restaurant in the city, La Belle Maison. You all know how much I love sharing these amazing experiences with you. And, of course, only the best for my girls." Vanessa's friends laughed and settled at the table, pretending to be nonchalant but clearly excited to be seen by thousands of people online. Amelia watched closely, knowing that this was her opportunity. Her plan was starting to take shape. Vanessa continued, "This place is simply fabulous. The service is, well, as you can see, we have very friendly waitresses, ready to serve us." She gave a fake smile, directing the camera toward Amelia, who had just stepped away toward the kitchen. The group laughed, and Vanessa quickly turned her focus back to the table. Amelia took a deep breath as she disappeared into the kitchen doors. The contempt and lack of respect were obvious, but she wouldn't let it get to her. On the contrary, this was exactly what motivated her to continue with her plan. In the kitchen, while waiting for the next orders to be ready, Sophie approached again, her expression filled with concern. "Are they still bothering you?" Sophie asked, casting a quick glance toward Vanessa's table, where the live stream was still in full swing. Amelia smiled, but it was a smile filled with determination. I've dealt with people like this before, Sophie. And now I have the chance to handle them the right way. She looked at the young waitress, who still seemed apprehensive. You'll see. As Sophie moved away to attend to another table, Amelia returned her attention to the bustling kitchen. The smell of exquisite dishes, carefully prepared, filled the air, and she knew that it was the result of years of dedication. Years in which she had overcome prejudices and challenges that Vanessa and her friends would never understand. But now, it was time to strike back, her way. A few minutes later, Amelia returned to the table with the main courses. The women were still engrossed in their live stream and didn't immediately notice her approach. As she began serving the dishes, Grace turned to Vanessa and made a comment that Amelia caught amidst the confusion of voices. You know what I find funny? This restaurant is so expensive, but look at the staff. Do you really think they pay well here? It seems like anyone can work in a place like this. Grace chuckled quietly, completely unaware of the implication of her words. Vanessa laughed along, not paying much attention to what was being said, while continuing to interact with her followers. My loves, wait until you see the dessert. I heard they have something special here. Let's see if it's really worth the price, right? Amelia paused for a second, the tray still in her hands. Grace's comment echoed in her mind, but she remained unfazed. It wasn't the first time someone had judged her without knowing her true story, and it certainly wouldn't be the last. But now, she had an advantage. Determined to act, Amelia placed the last dish on the table and smiled politely. I hope you're enjoying the evening, ladies, she said in a soft but confident tone. Vanessa waved her hand vaguely, still focused on her phone. Oh, yes, of course. It's great. I'm thinking of doing a special stream for the dessert, you know? Showing the behind-the-scenes stuff. People love seeing what goes on in luxury restaurants. You do that here, don't you? It was exactly what Amelia had been waiting for. This was the perfect opportunity. Vanessa was offering exactly what she needed to turn the situation around. Actually, we do, Amelia responded, a sparkle in her eyes. We offer an exclusive tour of the kitchen, where special customers can see the chefs in action and learn the details behind the dishes we serve. If you're interested, I can arrange that for you. The entire group paused for a moment, paying attention to Amelia for the first time that night. Vanessa smiled, clearly intrigued. Really? That would be amazing. My followers would love it. I definitely want that. Amelia nodded, keeping the smile on her face. I'm glad you're interested. I'll arrange everything for you. I guarantee it will be an unforgettable experience. As Vanessa and her friends resumed their excited conversation about the tour, Amelia stepped away once again, knowing that the plan was in motion. They still didn't know who she really was, and the revelation would be more than satisfying. The night was just beginning. The night was lively at La Belle Maison. While the other tables enjoyed their meals, Vanessa and her friends were more excited than ever. The promise of an exclusive kitchen tour had sparked the group's curiosity. Vanessa, always looking for ways to increase her online engagement, was ready to impress her followers with yet another unique experience. Little did they know what was about to happen. In the kitchen, Amelia was organizing everything for the tour, preparing her team for a quick and elegant presentation. The chefs and cooks knew that occasionally some customers had the opportunity to see the behind-the-scenes, but only a few knew the truth, that Amelia was, in fact, the owner and executive chef. Most of the staff admired her discreet yet firm leadership, and they knew that when she called for this type of tour, something important was about to happen. Amelia was focused. Her plan was in motion, and the revelation would come at the right moment. The tour would not just be a display of the restaurant's culinary talents, it would be the key to confronting Vanessa and her friends' behavior publicly and definitively. It was time to strike back, but in a subtle, dignified, and strategic way. As she headed toward the dining room, Amelia took a deep breath. The feeling of anxiety mixed with determination made her heart beat faster. She knew that Vanessa was already preparing her phone to record the experience. The audience watching the live stream was about to see much more than a simple kitchen tour. Vanessa and her friends were at the table, laughing loudly and talking about their latest trips and extravagant purchases. Vanessa had her phone in hand, ready to start the live stream as soon as they entered the kitchen. "My loves, you won't believe it. We're about to have an exclusive tour of the kitchen at La Belle Maison. I'm going to show you how the best dishes are made. Stay with me." Vanessa spoke directly to her phone, her wide, confident smile in place. Amelia approached the table with her usual calm and elegant demeanor. "Everything is ready, ladies. If you'll follow me, I can show you how we prepare our specialties." Vanessa quickly stood up, adjusting her hair and firmly holding her phone. Her friends followed, clearly excited about the opportunity for something so exclusive. "This is going to be amazing," Vanessa exclaimed as she began recording the live stream. "It's not every day you get backstage access to one of the fanciest restaurants in the city, right, everyone?" The group followed Amelia down the corridors of the restaurant to the entrance of the kitchen. As soon as they entered, Vanessa filmed every detail, capturing the immaculate environment, the gleaming countertops, and the chefs working with precision. "Look at this kitchen. It's a work of art. Every dish here is made with the finest ingredients by top-notch professionals. You know I only show you the best." Amelia guided the group calmly, explaining the different processes involved in preparing the dishes. Vanessa, focused on impressing her followers, barely paid attention to the explanations. She was too busy showing herself and her friends, laughing and commenting on every detail of the kitchen, while keeping an eye on the growing number of viewers watching the stream. Amelia patiently waited for the right moment. "Now, ladies, I'd like to introduce you to our team of chefs. They work tirelessly to ensure that every dish served at La Belle Maison is a unique experience," Amelia said, gesturing toward one of the chefs beside her. The chef smiled and waved, but instead of addressing the group of women, he turned to Amelia. "Good evening, Chef Parker. Everything is in order, just as you requested." Silence fell over the room. Vanessa abruptly stopped speaking, and the phone recording the tour trembled slightly in her hand. The name Chef Parker echoed in the women's minds, but they didn't seem to have processed the information yet. Vanessa frowned and looked at Amelia, her expression confused. "Wait. Chef Parker? Who?" Amelia, calm and composed, slowly turned to face the group. Her eyes met Vanessa's and her friends, who were now visibly unsettled. "Yes," Amelia said with a restrained smile. "I'm Amelia Parker. I'm the owner and executive chef of La Belle Maison." The impact of those words was immediate. Vanessa froze, her phone still recording the live stream, capturing every second of that moment. Vanessa's friends, who until then had been laughing and making dismissive comments, now exchanged looks of complete shock, their expressions of arrogance replaced with a mix of shame and surprise. Vanessa, trying to regain her composure, stammered. I didn't know you. I mean, we had no idea." Amelia maintained her steady gaze. "I know," she replied, her voice serene but full of authority. "But here at La Belle Maison, it doesn't matter who you are. Everyone deserves to be treated with respect, our customers and our staff. What you and your friends said and did today, that reflects more on you than on anyone else." Vanessa attempted a nervous laugh, still holding her phone, but the audience watching the live stream didn't miss a thing. The comments began flooding in, condemning the group's behavior and praising Amelia's poise. "What a shame, Vanessa. She's the owner, and you treated her like nothing. Amelia is a true queen." Vanessa realized that her attempt to salvage the situation was failing miserably. Her followers were witnessing the revelation in real time, and the response was overwhelmingly negative. Her efforts to save face were unraveling, just as her confidence in controlling the situation. Amelia, on the other hand, remained composed and dignified. She looked at Vanessa and her friends and concluded, "We value all of our customers here, But there's one thing we do not tolerate: we do not accept customers who disrespect our staff or treat others with disdain. So, ladies, enjoy your evening. But remember, respect is the key to any good meal." Vanessa, speechless, abruptly ended the live stream, her face still pale and her friends visibly uncomfortable. Amelia, however, stood firm and serene, knowing that what needed to be said had been said, and what needed to be shown had already been exposed to the world. The tension in the air was palpable. As Vanessa ended her live stream abruptly, her hands shook as she held her phone. Her friends, still in shock, seemed unable to speak, exchanging looks of disbelief and embarrassment. The silence in the kitchen contrasted with the distant buzz of the dining room, where customers continued to enjoy their meals, unaware of what had just happened. Amelia watched the scene with unshakable calm. She had faced much greater challenges over the years than a group of arrogant women, and now, more than ever, she knew she had done the right thing. The uncomfortable silence from Vanessa and her friends was enough to show that the message had hit its mark. Vanessa, still stunned, finally broke the silence. I didn't know. I mean, if I had known you were the owner, I never would have." She stammered, trying to find a way to salvage what was left of her dignity. Amelia kept her posture firm, but her expression wasn't one of anger, it was one of clarity and conviction. "You don't need to treat me well because I'm the owner, Vanessa. Respect is something that should be given to everyone, regardless of their position." Amelia's words hung in the air for a few seconds as Vanessa tried to process what she had just heard. She quickly glanced at her friends for support, but they were just as shocked, clearly embarrassed. None of them dared to say a word. The echoes from the online world began to manifest quickly. Although Vanessa had ended the stream, the video of her humiliation was already spreading like wildfire. In the notifications feed on Vanessa's phone, negative comments were pouring in real time. "What a shame, Vanessa. How could you be so disrespectful? She's the owner. You're ruined." The followers who once praised Vanessa's luxurious lifestyle on social media were now turning against her, outraged by her disrespect and shallow behavior. Vanessa, realizing that she had lost control of the situation, felt her face burn with shame. "Let's go, Grace," one of her friends whispered, tugging at Vanessa's arm. "We should leave before things get worse." Vanessa, with no other options, nodded in agreement. She turned to Amelia, attempting one last gesture of redemption. I'm sorry for anything we may have said." Amelia remained polite but showed no sign of backing down. "I hope tonight serves as a lesson for all of you. Everyone in this restaurant deserves respect, whether they are customers or staff. That's the bare minimum." Vanessa lowered her gaze and, without another word, began walking toward the exit, with her friends following closely behind. The kitchen, which moments earlier had been filled with tension, was now overtaken by the awkward silence of the group's departure. The door closed behind them, and with it, the night seemed to return to normal. Amelia exhaled slowly, feeling the adrenaline gradually subside. The reaction from Vanessa and her friends had been predictable, but the real impact was yet to come. She knew that the live stream video would have repercussions, and unlike other occasions when acts of prejudice or disrespect were ignored, this time the truth had been revealed to the public. That same night, back in the restaurant's office, Amelia reflected on what had happened while organizing papers and closing the day's accounts. La Belle Maison had become the hottest restaurant in the city in recent years, but Amelia had never lost sight of what truly mattered: respect, dignity, and the hard work that had brought her to where she was. "You were amazing today," said Sophie, entering the office to hand over some documents. "I don't know how you managed to stay so calm." Amelia smiled, feeling the relief finally wash over her. "I've been through many similar situations, Sophie. People like Vanessa think they can treat others however they want, but today she learned that's not the case." Sophie nodded in agreement. It was so satisfying to see their faces when they realized who you really were. "I'm sure this will teach them an important lesson." "I hope so," Amelia replied. She looked out the window, where the restaurant was still illuminated with the soft glow of the outdoor lights. It's not just about me, you know? How many times have you or anyone else been through something like this without the opportunity to respond? Today, we showed that no one is above anyone else, no matter how much they think they are. Sophie nodded again, clearly admiring Amelia's stance. In the video, people are already talking about it online. Amelia had suspected as much. She knew that Vanessa's live stream, despite being cut short, had captured the critical moment. What Vanessa didn't realize was that in her attempt to showcase an exclusive experience for her followers, she had ended up exposing her own arrogance and disrespect for the world to see. I've been checking social media, Sophie continued, picking up her phone and showing Amelia some posts. People are commenting on how elegant and firm you were. A lot of them are on your side. Amelia took a quick look at the posts. The supportive comments for her and the criticisms of Vanessa were multiplying. The video had gone viral, and now there was no turning back for Vanessa. She needs to understand that arrogance comes at a price, Amelia thought to herself before handing the phone back to Sophie. But don't worry about that, Amelia added. These things come and go. What matters is that here, in the restaurant, people know what we stand for. Everyone who works here is treated with respect, and that will continue. Sophie smiled, inspired by Amelia's strength and determination. I know. And that's what makes La Belle Maison so special. In the days that followed, the impact of the night continued to spread. La Belle Maison received a wave of new customers, many of whom were curious to meet the restaurant and its famous owner, who had earned the public's respect and admiration with her dignified and firm attitude. Vanessa, on the other hand, was in freefall. Her followers began abandoning her in droves, and several brands with which she had contracts began distancing themselves. The apologies she issued on social media were not enough to repair the damage. The internet is not quick to forgive, and Vanessa was learning that the hard way. But for Amelia, true success wasn't found in the online reactions. Her triumph lay in the dignity with which she had handled the situation. She didn't need to lower herself or seek revenge on Vanessa or her friends. The respect she had built over years of hard work had prevailed, and now La Belle Maison was not only a luxury restaurant but a symbol of justice, dignity, and mutual respect. The days following the incident at La Belle Maison were busy. Amelia felt the wave of change almost immediately. The restaurant, already known for its sophistication, began attracting a new wave of customers, many of whom wanted to meet the woman who had faced down prejudice with such class. The story of the kitchen revelation went viral on social media, with thousands of shares and comments praising Amelia's firmness and unshakable stance. I didn't expect this to go so far, Sophie commented one afternoon as they organized the reservations. People are waiting weeks to get a table here. Amelia smiled. Sometimes what starts as something small takes on larger proportions than we can imagine. People are looking for more than just a good meal. They want to know that the places they eat reflect the values they admire. And so it was. The restaurant, which had always been a culinary reference, had now become a symbol of integrity and respect. Customers came not only for the food but for the experience, knowing that it was rooted in truth and respect. While Amelia enjoyed this new success, Vanessa Hamilton's life was unraveling. The influencer, once seen as a style and luxury icon, was now facing a wave of severe criticism and accusations of disrespect and arrogance. Her followers, who once idolized her, now looked at her with disdain. Brands that had contracts with Vanessa began to distance themselves. Companies that collaborated with her on social media canceled partnerships, citing that her image had become toxic to the public. Her apologies were met with skepticism, and Vanessa's reputation, built over years, crumbled in just a few days. She tried to regain control, posting emotional videos and even hiring a PR team to try to reverse the situation. But the damage was done. The video of her humiliation at La Belle Maison continued to circulate, and people were not quick to forget. Back at the restaurant, Amelia was at the peak of her career. Her story of overcoming challenges, once known only to those closest to her, began gaining more visibility. local newspapers and blogs began sharing her journey, from a young chef facing prejudice to becoming the owner of one of the most prestigious restaurants in the city. She was invited to interviews on radio shows and podcasts, where her message about respect, hard work, and perseverance resonated with an even larger audience. Amelia, however, remained true to herself. Even with the increase in fame and recognition, she continued to oversee every detail of her restaurant, staying close to her team and ensuring that La Belle Maison remained a place where everyone was treated with dignity. In one of these interviews, Amelia was asked about the incident with Vanessa. "How did you feel confronting someone who tried to publicly diminish you?" the host asked, curious. Amelia smiled softly, her posture still calm and confident. "It wasn't just about me. If it had been just for me, maybe I would have reacted differently. But when you're in a leadership position, you have to think about everyone around you. I knew that what happened that night wasn't just about my pride or my position. It was about showing everyone that respect should be a priority, no matter who you are or where you come from." Amelia's words resonated deeply with the audience, and the interview was widely shared, further reinforcing her image as a strong, resilient woman who stayed true to her values. While Amelia continued on her path to success, Vanessa, in a quieter corner of the city, watched her career and prestige collapse. She had never imagined that a single mistake could cause so much damage. But now, with cancelled contracts and followers abandoning her in droves, she was paying the price for her arrogance. For Amelia, however, the greatest success wasn't Vanessa's humiliation but the fact that she had maintained her integrity and shown the world that respect is the most important value of all. Months passed since that night at La Belle Maison, and the marks of that experience remain visible, though in very different ways for each of the women involved. For Amelia Parker, the restaurant continued to be her greatest pride. La Belle Maison thrived like never before, with new and returning customers filling the tables every night. The success, however, wasn't just due to the food or the refined ambience. People came because they knew that the restaurant was built on solid values, respect, dignity, and humility. Amelia believed that these were the true ingredients that made La Belle Maison a special place. The staff also felt more motivated. The respect Amelia had demonstrated that night for everyone, from the waiters to the chefs, left a positive mark on her team. They knew they were working for someone who not only led them but defended them when necessary. This created an atmosphere of camaraderie and trust within the restaurant. Amelia came to be recognized not just as a successful chef and businesswoman but as a figure of inspiration for many. She received invitations to speak at events, where she could share her story and beliefs about the importance of respect in all aspects of life. Her voice became a symbol of resilience and empowerment, especially for women and minorities who saw her as an example of perseverance. Meanwhile, Vanessa Hamilton's story had taken a different turn. Her fall as an influencer was swift and devastating. The live stream video, which was supposed to be a simple tour of a restaurant, turned into a constant reminder of her arrogance and lack of empathy. The followers she had gained over the years began to abandon her profile, and the brands that had once supported her quickly distanced themselves. Vanessa tried to redeem herself, publishing lengthy apologies, organizing campaigns for social causes, and even trying to present a new version of herself. But the internet doesn't forget easily, and her image was permanently tarnished. She now lived on the fringes of the world she once dominated, a reminder that arrogance and disrespect come at a high price. On a sunny day, Amelia was at the restaurant, as always, overseeing the preparations for the evening. She walked through the corridors with the same calmness as ever, checking every detail, ensuring that everything was in perfect order. As she watched her team working in perfect harmony, she reflected on how much she had achieved and how all of it was the result of years of hard work, patience, and, above all, the choice to never compromise her principles. She remembered her father's words, who always said, "Respect can't be bought, Amelia. Respect is earned, and those who offer it receive it in return." Those words had followed her throughout her life. And in that moment, as she looked at La Belle Maison, she knew she was reaping the rewards of everything she had sown along her journey. That night, the restaurant was once again full. Amelia watched as customers arrived, smiling, greeting the staff kindly, all seeming to understand the culture of respect that permeated the place. She smiled to herself, satisfied, knowing that regardless of the challenges to come, she would always remain true to her values. True success wasn't in the full tables or the full accounts, but in knowing that, in every interaction, respect was the rule, not the exception. Amelia closed her eyes for a moment, listening to the soft hum of the restaurant she had built with so much love. She had won, not with words of hatred or revenge, but with dignity and respect. And that, she knew, would be her greatest legacy. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment, and check out our next story.